In every corner of Africa, stories breathe, tales buried in dust, whispered through firelight. You're about to hear one of them. Welcome to African Horror Stories. The Rwandan folklore, the silent contagion. The Viringan mountains of Rwanda rise from the earth like sleeping giants. Volcanic slopes draped in an impossible, vibrant green. Above, the sky is a clean, sharp blue. Below, the earth is porous, riddled with lava tunnels and ancient, undiscovered darkness. This is the domain of Dr. Chen, a geologist and lead speleologist whose life was dedicated to mapping what the sun never touched. Dr. Chen was pragmatic, disciplined, and utterly reliant on technology. Her team was her chosen family, a professional unit bonded by shared expertise and a healthy skepticism for anything that couldn't be proven by a seismic reading. There was Liam, the expedition surveyor, a man whose easy humor was usually the only light in the deep dark. There was Sarah, the quiet, methodical geologist whose expertise in mineral composition was unmatched. And there was Musa, the local Rwandan lead guide who knew the land and the legends woven into its soil. Their mission was to map a vast, newly discovered cave system, a geological anomaly beneath the dormant Mount Parasimbi. The team stood before the entrance, a gaping black maw carved by ancient lava flow. The air here was dead still. Even the buzzing insects seemed to observe a funereal silence. Musa stepped forward, his eyes scanning the moss-covered, smooth volcanic rock. They say the darkness down there is not empty. It does not like the sounds of men. Dr. Chen, adjusting her helmet, offered a small, professional smile. Musa, what we are hearing is an acoustic vacuum. Sound doesn't travel well in this density. It's science, not myth. Musa did not smile back. Science explains how the darkness works, Doctor. It does not explain what lives in it. Ignoring the warning, Dr. Chen gave the order to proceed. Their helmets clicked on, bathing the entrance in cool, sterile LED light. They were prepared for rock slides, for gas, for sheer cold. They were not prepared for a threat that attacked the mind itself. They started the long descent. The sounds of the outside world, the birds, the wind, the distant village were swallowed in a matter of feet, replaced by the relentless, crushing silence of the subterranean world. The only noise was the sharp rasp of their own breathing and the soft, crunching static of their radio chatter. As they moved deeper, the team found evidence of what Musa had feared. They found a large chamber illuminated by their headlamps, revealing the smooth, polished walls covered in ancient rock art. Not animals or hunts, but human figures, stick figures with unnaturally large, distended skulls, their hands raised to their temples in expressions of screaming agony. Sarah, kneeling to analyze the mineral pigments, frowned. The material is non-organic, but look at the composition of the scene, Doctor. They aren't worshipping, they look terrified. They look like figures driven mad by days without light, Dr. Chen concluded, snapping a high-resolution photo. Claustrophobia is a powerful tool for ancient shamans, Sarah. Let's keep moving. But a growing sense of unease settled over the group. The cave itself was unnatural. The floor was too flat, the tunnels too regular, as if carved by something other than lava flow. Then came the first glitch. Liam paused, tapping the side of his helmet. "Chen, my internal pressure gauge is cycling. It's showing erratic readings. Anyone else?" "Negative," Sarah replied immediately. "My systems are green." "Mine too, Liam," Dr. Chen confirmed. "Check your connections. Could be the humidity." Liam, usually jovial, felt a sudden sharp prick of irritation. Chun's so quick to blame my equipment. Always the technology, never the truth. The thought was cold and immediate, and it came from a place he didn't recognize. "Checked," Liam finally said, his voice flat. "It's fine now. Just static." The team continued, but the unity was already fractured. The silence inside the cave had become heavy and unnatural, pressing not just on their eardrums, but on their thoughts. They set up their central base camp in a chamber so vast their headlamps failed to reach the ceiling. The high-tech mapping equipment was deployed, and almost instantly the problems escalated. The communication unit's main screen dissolved into fuzzy static. Dr. Chen swore under her breath. "It's the basalt, too dense. We're getting interference." Musa, standing apart from the others, only looked at the darkness beyond the lamplight. "It is not the rock, Doctor. It is the Ikimunyi. They are the shadows the old ones feared. They are spirits of deep sickness. They don't want the sounds of your machine to touch their silence." Dr. Chen dismissed him with a curt gesture. "Musa, if you're uncomfortable, you can stay here and watch the perimeter. Sarah and Liam, let's troubleshoot the main array." But the atmosphere had changed. The Ikimunyi, the parasitic spirits Musa spoke of, had begun to affect them. They didn't need to speak outwardly. They were masters of mind invasion, feeding on the dark residue of human guilt and insecurity. As Sarah leaned in to check a power converter, a thought flashed through her mind, sharp as a needle. "You only came on this expedition to impress the director. Your measurements are always unreliable. You're a fraud." Sarah flinched, pulling her hand away. The thought was hers, yet it resonated with an unnatural clarity. She looked at Liam. A different thought, cold and calculated, struck Liam. "Chen trusts you. You should tell her Sarah's numbers are always unreliable. She'll get us killed with her arrogance." Liam's face tightened. He hadn't ever thought Sarah's numbers were unreliable. He pushed the thought away, but the damage was done. He glanced at Sarah with a flicker of suspicion. Dr. Chen was the strongest, but even her mind was not immune. As she fought with the comms panel, a terrifying internal monologue began. "You failed to secure the funding for your last project. You're risking their lives now just to prove you're still relevant." The voice was sharp, so hers that it felt like a sudden physical sickness. The psychological attacks quickly caused real-world conflict. Liam suddenly rounded on Dr. Chen, his voice strained and accusatory. "You rushed the diagnostics, Chen. You're so desperate to prove this is a major find that you're cutting corners on safety." Dr. Chen, exhausted and already fighting her own internal doubts, flared back. "This is a professional expedition, Liam. You sound panicked. Check your oxygen levels." The argument was sharp and bitter, fueled by unseen whispers. Their unity, once a solid rock, was crumbling. Then came the discovery that tipped them into true horror. Musa was gone. His helmet and headlamp were found lying on a patch of loose gravel near a dark, narrow passage that snaked off the main chamber. The lamp was still flickering, but Musa himself was nowhere to be seen. Dr. Chen called out over the radio, "Musa, report!" Only static answered. They were no longer dealing with simple geological interference. They were dealing with a predator. The disappearance of Musa was not the clean, instantaneous tragedy of a cave-in. It was a calculated, chilling removal. "A simple stumble would have left more evidence," Liam muttered, "and Musa wouldn't abandon his gear. Not here." Dr. Chen grabbed the static hissing radio, forcing a tone of command. "We proceed with caution. Sarah, you stay here, monitor the air quality, and keep trying to stabilize the comms. Liam, you and I are going in." As Chen adjusted her harness, a thought flashed through her mind. "You're leaving Sarah alone because you don't trust her. You saw her numbers fluctuate yesterday. The paranoia planted by the Ikimunyi was now driving her decisions." Chen and Liam entered the winding passage, leaving Sarah alone in the vast, silent chamber. Sarah fought to keep her eyes on the static screen. She was alone, and in the absolute blackness surrounding her small pool of lamplight, a new sound began. It wasn't the hiss of static. It was a faint, high-pitched humming, almost inaudible, vibrating not through the air, but through the rock itself. She knelt, pressing her palm against the cave floor. The vibration was strongest there. The subtle, accusatory internal whispers she'd been fighting began to coalesce. They gained texture, a dry, rasping quality, like sand shifting. They were no longer her thoughts. They were voices. Multiple, layered voices speaking at the same time, all aimed at her deepest vulnerabilities. "Why did you let your sister move away? You knew she needed help. You should have been fired long ago. This whole mission is a lie." Sarah clapped her hands over her helmet, desperate to mute the invasive noise. The Ikimunyi had fully breached her mind, using guilt as a physical point of entry. Meanwhile, Chen and Liam crawled deeper into the narrow passage. They discovered a vast, hidden cavern, a massive geological fissure. And in the center of the fissure, illuminated by their combined headlamps, was a horrifying sight. A massive patch of crystalline mineral formations. They looked like colossal, shimmering tumors of quartz and basalt, pulsing with a soft, eerie, internal green light. What is this?" Liam whispered. "It's biomineralization, but impossible scale. It's almost organic." As they neared the formation, the high-pitched humming became clearly audible. The humming resolved into a sound that was both sound and thought, a distinct internal hissing that simultaneously assaulted their eardrums and their minds. It was the sound of the Ikimunyi, the voices of 100 parasitic entities. "You are unworthy. You are the reason the surface world is dying. You let Musa die. You wanted the glory for yourself." Chen staggered back, clawing at her comms harness. The noise was agony. "Liam, we're leaving, now! This isn't rock! It's a nest! It's poisoning the air!" But Liam was frozen, his eyes fixed on the pulsating green light. The Ikimunyi had found his wound and was twisting the knife. "The sensor array. I should have warned the others about the fault," Liam muttered, his voice distant, his face slack.
Chen slapped him hard across the helmet. "Liam, break it off! This isn't real! It's noise!" The physical shock was enough to break the connection. Liam flinched, his eyes clearing instantly. "God, Chen, what was that? I heard them. They knew what I did." They scrambled back through the narrow passage, the voices pursuing them as a palpable mental pressure. When they emerged in the main chamber, they were soaked in sweat, breathing rapidly. And they found Sarah. Sarah was no longer hunched over the static screen. She was standing upright, perfectly still. Her helmet was off, and her eyes were now cold, vast, and empty. "Sarah, Moose is gone. We need to retreat to the surface. We've found something dangerous." Sarah turned her head slowly, without moving her body. Her voice, when it came, was flat, measured, and uncannily devoid of human inflection. "Retreat is illogical, Doctor. The integrity of the system must be preserved. The darkness requires silence. You bring noise." Chen felt a deep chill. This was not the Sarah she knew. "Sarah, please," Liam pleaded. "This is a hallucination. Put your mask on." The possessed Sarah raised her hand. In it, she held a large, razor-sharp geological pick. "The air is clean. The contamination is human. Its guilt and its ambition poison the silence." Chen realized the horrifying truth. The Ikimunyi had completely invaded and taken her over. The spirit had found a willing, logical host to execute its will. The extermination of the remaining team and the sealing of the caves. The possessed Sarah moved. She walked straight past their packs, and with two cold, precise strokes of the geological pick, she severed the main haul rope connecting them to the surface. The rope, their lifeline, snapped silently and fell into the black abyss of the main entrance shaft. They were isolated, completely and utterly trapped. "Sarah, you just killed us all!" Liam screamed. The Ikimunyi possessed Sarah merely lowered the pick. "The human mission is complete. The darkness must be preserved." Chen grabbed Liam, pulling him back. "Don't engage. This isn't Sarah. We have to find a way to neutralize the host, or we die here."
The severed rope snaked silently into the abyss. Liam stared at the black hole, his face a mask of primal terror. Dr. Chen grabbed him, her own fear channeled into a cold, fierce concentration. "Liam, focus. The Ikimunyi is using her. We have to fight the entity, not the host." Chen dragged Liam toward the central equipment array, her mind racing. They are spirits of silence. They are creatures of darkness. The mineral formations, they were vibrating. Chen whispered to Liam, working furiously on the primary mapping console. The Ikimunyi are sonic entities. They can't handle external sound. It contaminates their silence. We need a shock wave. If we overload the system, we can create a sonic burst, a counter-frequency that will cleanse the space. The plan was insane, risking a cave-in, but Sarah was nearing their remaining oxygen tanks. Chen worked on the main array, rapidly inputting override codes and diverting power from their secondary systems to the sonic transducers. The remaining lamplight dimmed immediately, plunging the vast chamber into deeper, more oppressive shadow. Liam watched Sarah. The Ikimunyi-possessed host knew exactly what Chen was doing. It paused its advance on the oxygen, recognizing the greater threat. "Stop that machine," Sarah commanded, the voice rising slightly in pitch. "You violate the stillness."
Liam grabbed a coil of emergency climbing rope and hurled a piece of discarded equipment at the possessed Sarah. The distraction was enough. As Sarah diverted her attention to Liam, the Ikimunyi spoke its most devastating weapon to him. "You led the team into the gas pocket 3 years ago. You killed those men with your arrogance. Go back to the gas pocket. You deserve the silence." Liam froze, the internal accusation of physical paralysis. He fell to his knees, clutching his head, screaming. "Liam, fight it! It's not real!" Chen yelled, barely visible in the darkness, struggling with the final wiring for the overload. The possessed Sarah, sensing her victory over Liam, turned her attention back to Chen, raising the geological pick high above her shoulder. Chen realized she wouldn't make the final connection in time. "Liam, the passage, the emergency pack!" Chen screamed, knowing he couldn't hear her. With a final, desperate surge of adrenaline, Chen finished the wiring. But before she could activate the sequence, the Ikimunyi possessed Sarah was upon her. Liam, hearing only the final genuine distress in Chen's voice, managed to break free from the paralysis. He saw the pick descending toward Chen. With a ragged primal shout, Liam threw himself at Sarah, wrapping his arms around her waist. The geological pick harmlessly cleaved the rock where Chen's head had been. "Go, Chen! Finish it! Now!" Liam roared, struggling with the unnaturally strong, possessed Sarah. Chen didn't hesitate. She slammed her hand down on the oversized activation button. The sonic burst was instantaneous and devastating. The walls of the chamber seemed to vibrate and hum violently. The air itself felt like it was tearing. Chen dropped to the ground, blood streaming from her ears, her mind collapsing in a blinding flash of noise. The Ikimunyi was forced out. A fleeting, dark, shadowy energy tore itself from Sarah's body and slammed against the crystalline formation, which instantly went dark, collapsing into inert dust. The piercing shriek vanished, replaced by a sudden, deafening silence. Chen staggered up, disoriented. Liam lay still, his body bruised but breathing, near the unmoving, unpossessed form of Sarah. She found the emergency medical kit and the final small pack Liam had urged her toward. The blast had severed their remaining lights. Chen, using her geological expertise, found a small secondary fissure. She armed a small explosive charge, hoping to open a narrow exit tunnel to the outside world. "We go up or we die here," she muttered, securing the charge. The air cleared quickly. A hairline crack of natural light, weak, golden, and heavenly, appeared 20 meters above them. It was a climb, a desperate, final vertical scramble with the unconscious Sarah secured to her back. Hours later, Dr. Chen dragged herself over the lip of the fissure, pulling the limp body of Sarah behind her. They lay on the green, dew-covered slopes of the Virunga Mountains. The air was cool, clean, and full of the glorious, oblivious sound of birdsong. They had escaped. Chen looked back at the jagged, smoking hole in the earth, the fissure that had been their escape hatch. It was slowly beginning to close again. The mouth of the sleeper was closing again. Liam had not made it. He had sacrificed himself to ensure the Ikimunyi was neutralized, and Chen was simply too weak to climb back down to him. Chen looked at Sarah, who was slowly coming to, her eyes confused but no longer empty. Sarah would live. As Dr. Chen sat on the green, dew-covered slopes, the sun rising over the jungle, she felt a profound, unearning clarity. The cave was sealed. The Ikimunyi had been banished. But then she heard a noise. Not a sound from the cave, but a whisper in her mind, clear and agonizing. "You should have stayed for Liam. You're a coward. You came back alone for the glory." It was the voice of the Ikimunyi, the parasitic contagion. It was weak, fragmented, but it had survived. It had hitched a ride, not on her body, but on the enduring guilt and trauma it had implanted. The fear wasn't in the darkness anymore. The fear was that the silent contagion had followed them. The fear was that the Ikimunyi had not been defeated. It had simply evolved, realizing that the greatest darkness it needed to inhabit was not the cave, but the human mind itself. Dr. Chen had survived the darkness, but she had brought the darkness back to the light. That's all for today. If you liked the video, let me know by hitting like. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe for more. You can watch another video of mine right here. See you next time.